Okay, so this battle, this is another SPQR one. We're running down almost to the end here. I got a couple more base ones left, and then I got the Jewish revolt, which, I don't know, we'll see. This is Cynoscephalae. Sounds like something to do with brains and noses, but I can't tell you much more than that. Anyway, I don't think the Sino is spelled right. We get a small force of Romans and a small force of Macedonians here. There are Greek allies with them throughout. And in fact, this is kind of confusing. Somewhere they say, hey, we'll talk to this more about this later. I don't know where they discuss it, but I don't know. Here we already told you that. Anyway, it's the fact that everybody's using a lot of red counters in this scenario, which is going to be tough to keep track of what's whose. Now, part of that fits in with some of the scenario itself, which is there's this heavy fog, and these are two scouting parties, a small Macedonian party parked on the ridge and some Romans moving forward. Right now they're not in range of each other. They can't see each other. There's a very heavy fog. It only allows 5 hexes visibility. Now, there's various hidden movement options in place with this. One of them is a fairly simple one where the units have to kind of run into each other and be able to see the leader counter. Movement's actually done off the map, and you kind of nothing gets triggered until they see each other, and that seems pretty minor actually. The reality with that one is, though, I'm starting to think, well, you know, I don't see a reason either side particularly wants to be hidden. Now, in the more advanced hidden movement, units are able to move around on the board within the missing line of sight area without being seen, as these big piles of reinforcements as the armies come on. That would be really a kick to play. Even trying to do that opposed, though, I suspect would require a significant amount of record keeping. Best way to do it would be to photocopy a reduced version of the map, probably, and mark stuff down on there, broad movements at least. But I'm not going to be able to do that. And this other one, honestly, I can't see where either side terribly wants to prevent an action from starting early. Why in particular would the Romans want to maybe skirt up the mountain and not go straight forward? I'm not sure. I mean, you know, they know, here's the thing, they know where the Macedonians start, and the Macedonians know where the Romans start. The Macedonians may not want to move off their location, but the Romans, you could say, well, if I could get a better positioning or whatever. I don't think it's going to matter. These are just tiny little forces here that are kind of stumbling into each other. For the Romans, the idea, I think, would be to get their slight, I think, numerical superiority on the board quicker. Now let's take a look, and maybe it's wiser to use, you know, just the set piece battle, but I like at least watching things evolve on the board. But let's take a look at the points here. Now the sizes are about the same, but the total tactical quality points the Romans have are higher. Oh, there's another interesting thing. We've got elephants for the Romans here. A small group of elephants. That's going to be kind of an oddness here. Special rules for this one. There are a few others other than that. Macedonians tend to use double depth phalanxes. That's actually a standard rule in the game as an option. And then they're talking about these cerisas, exceptionally long pikes, and then they say, no, those are probably impossible. So I'm not going to use the rules for them, but they might indicate something that's different. Hard to tell. Anyway. Like, they might be longer than the normal ones, and we may have maybe mistaken what the length is on everything. I don't know. I'm not going to go with the augmented Roman cavalry. That would actually be a move away from the historical. So it's going to be kind of an interesting thing to take a look at. And this is something else I noticed. This is a learning scenario here. Tiny little scenario. Probably a good way to learn the system, actually. Something, fairly simple with a small number of pieces, because most of the ones that come in the base game now, some of the C3I stuff is fairly small, but most of the ones that come in the base game are pretty big scenarios that would be a pain to learn the game on. This one actually is kind of nice, and it's funny that they hide in the back of the book. I didn't notice it. There's no index at the or table of contents at the beginning. No index at the end. It's just, this tiny column. And hey, how are you supposed to notice that? All right, we'll start this off, and as things sight each other, that's going to bring these into battle. So I did kind of a fudge the hidden movement situation. Picked a location that the Romans would move to, which was pretty much here. They want to get this in sight. They want to get their army on the board as soon as possible. Well, for the Macedonians, they wanted to kind of move forward so that they can quickly wipe those Romans out if they can. Well, so they did that, but they didn't get a continuation, so they only got a few of their units up here. We're in a situation where these units could spot where the leader for the Romans is. The Romans were unable to spot where the Macedonians is. So what just happened here? Well, we have line of sight, so now we place all our units on map. And turn 3, things are going to come in, and the reinforcements really are going to come in according to the base schedule. But now we're just starting the battle normally, except there's kind of this, well, should I use the fog to any extent? Should it suffer some sort of screen? I might do some role-playing, a little bit of modification based on that, but not really. The Romans are going to be entering down here, the Macedonians up here, and I believe the Macedonians have a slower rate of entry. They're not allowed to bring as many units in per turn, but I have to look more carefully as I see that. All right, well, we're off. This is the second turn, and we're going to start this. It's kind of random who goes first, isn't it? We'll let that be the Romans this time. Well, the net effect is the Romans tried to push up onto the ridge, take a better position, maybe cause some kind of, I don't know, delaying tactics or whatever. And Thessalian cav came slamming around and hit their cav. Not a lot of action going on there, just a little bit of movement there. All right, well, on to turn 3, and I believe we have some reinforcements coming. I think the Romans are coming in at this point. Okay, so this is our position after the third turn, and I'm just really not going to worry too much about the fog. I could roll for lifting and stuff like that, but the truth is, it's really just not going to affect things too much for me to try to play it that way. I'm not able to disassociate enough and focus just on one group's actions, especially since there's activity going on here, and there's not much that can be done about this. As things get closer, they're going to see each other anyway. All right, so what do we got going on? Well, this little skirmish, the Romans got pushed back, and yes, this is really confusing with all the same color. I've got to look up why they chose that, because really in the base set, when this was made, as far as I know, the colors, were set at that point, and they made this choice for this one scenario to be this boned. I don't know. Anyway, onward. I don't think it's another couple turns before the second group comes in, which is a Greek Macedonian group. These guys are having trouble getting to the field, though, because, they got to protect Sakura Tom, which just is not sufficient, to move forces beyond what he can move. He can maybe get a line command and move the infantry, but then he can't move the horse, and otherwise he's moving 2 units at a time. He gets a free line command coming on map. That's all he gets, though. All right, and I don't know if that's even correct, but it's the only way to Otherwise, I'd have pieces off the map all over the place. I'm going to have that anyway with the Carthaginians, who can only bring in 5 units per turn. The Romans can at least bring in 16. Onward. End of this, which I believe is the 4th turn. Roman command. Got a line command to move forward. I'm not sure which Flaminius I'm using here. Well, say I figured out which one I was using. We had another hit in the side here. Oh, I didn't get to activate the Romans. Damn. Let me do them. This was the end of their activation, but the Romans still get to go. But going back to the Flaminius question, I grabbed this one. But there's another one with a different spelling. Neither one is Q Flaminius. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to use. This one's definitely the better of the two. The other one's pretty crappy. But then again, Philip is not exactly the brightest bulb in the bunch either, with his big old 2 line command ability. However, the other Roman leader had about a 4. I just don't know which one to use. Anyway, I threw this one in. It's probably better. Gotta hit the Romans here. So I'm going to cheat a little here. I forgot and kind of left this leader in place. That's really bad for the Romans because then he can't issue any commands at all, really. So he's going to jump away from that battle. He didn't have an effect anyway. So here's our final situation. Romans managed to free this cav by scaring it away with this light infantry here. They smacked into some lights up on the hill. Top. These are being driven away. I think they're back one because of the hill, I don't know. Anyway. Start seeing more reinforcements coming in right now. But not a lot more to say here. Oh, we had one of those cute, almost minimal turns. Roman leader pushes his cav forward, rolls for continuation, bang, die roll of doom, turn over. Let's get these guys running. And that's really it. What this means, these guys were due to come in. Well, we're getting closer to the next group coming in, which is going to be group 3 is another bunch, I think, of Macedonians. It'll be coming in on not this next turn, but the turn after. They'll be available, but there's a very limited space and number of units. There's only five pieces that are allowed in for the Macedonians per turn. So this is actually probably a big bonus for the Romans to prevent action from happening there. Alright, on to the next.